Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me. What are we now? 6 days from Christmas. Hope you've been nice. I hope there's not a lump of coal in your stocking. I hope that, Santa's good to you this holiday season. Wow. We have a fantastic show planned for you today. The real Coach JB, Jason Brown from Last Chance U, will be here. Butter's in studio with me. TJ Moe's going to join me. Shemeka Michelle. We have an interview at the end of the show that I'll release that I taped with Doug Wilson, the minister out of Moscow, Idaho, who's one of the most fundamentally sound ministers and one of the boldest ministers in the evangelical movement working today. We'll talk about Christian nationalism. I'm telling you, that's a conversation you'll want to stick around for. It'll be at the very end of the show, be about 45 minutes. It's a conversation you should definitely tune into. Shemeka and I, before we get to your comments in the chat, we'll talk about black women downsizing after living high on the hog for many years. Black women are now downsizing. I'll explain when Shemeka gets here. TJ Moe will join us about midway through the show. There's a betting market, Butter. You can bet on whether Travis Hunter and his girlfriend are going to break up. I don't like this.
Saw that.
That's not good. She could cash out on him. She could place bets or put money into the betting market, cash out, make
with all of this scrutiny over betting. I mean, she could be running game on it.
Yeah. And we'll circle back with TJ Moe on the Ryan Clark, Aaron Rodgers dispute that continues to burn pretty bright. Ryan Clark had more to say, but we also dug in to some of Ryan Clark's past comments. We'll air some of that with Coach JB, and JB will be here, I believe, shortly at the top of the show. Michael Vick is going to be a college football coach, it appears, at Norfolk State. Want to get JB's take on that. I tweeted out or posted on X earlier this week, yesterday, I believe. Someone posted a deal about Kirk Cousins getting benched. And hey, is the pocket quarterback era officially over? That all the quarterbacks, all the pocket passers are leaving the league, and you got Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, I guess, still around. But for the most part, the pocket passer era is over, and that's what kind of Kirk Cousins benching signifies. We'll get JB's take on that. But we'll begin the show, and this is why we're having JB on. We're going to talk a little college football and the madness and insanity going on in college football. Before I frame that up for you, let me tell you what you need to do besides hit like and subscribe as you're watching over YouTube. You need to go to fearlessmission.com and become a subscriber to this channel and the Fearless movement. Get all the up-to-date information, all the Fearless extra content. Become a subscriber. Use my promo code FEARLESS. You'll save $20. You'll get access to everything that I do, access to everything that the Blaze does. Need you to do that. Need you to jump on board in a real way. Now, let's get to today's show. And I want to begin by reading to JB. JB, is JB there? JB, welcome to the show. I want to begin by reading you this post on X from Alabama's athletic director, Greg Byrne. Over the past few years, there have been drastic changes in college athletics. We have been careful during this transitional period to protect our position at the top of the college athletics while being mindful to listen, engage, and learn from our generous supporters, proud alumni, and unrivaled fans to make sure that we protect our great traditions here at Alabama. But there's a time for talk and a time for action. Now is a time for action. Although we have been competitive from an NIL standpoint, our competition has us in their sights and are actively trying to surge ahead with NIL. You have heard examples of other teams using promises of million-dollar paydays to lure away our players or convince them not to come to Alabama. It is time for the Bama Nation to fight back. Under the new model of college athletics, which is the result of an antitrust lawsuit against the NCAA, a university can succeed if their fans purchase authentic NIL from student athletes. The good news is when blanks or something was created last year. The focus was on providing our fans with a legitimate product rather than booster inducements. Blank delivers exclusive content and access you cannot get anywhere else. Let me make sure I figure out what this blank is.
That's Yay, Alabama.
Yay, Alabama. Yay, Alabama delivers exclusive content and access you cannot get anywhere else. We also have a plan to grow Yay, Alabama's offerings with more videos, features, and news. So please visit Yay, Alabama to join. A subscription to Yay, Alabama isn't about the now, it's about the future. It's about roster retention for future seasons, keeping our legends in crimson. It's about attracting and developing the best recruits in the country to represent the script. You being a part of the team has never been more important. At Alabama, we've not measured ourselves against our competition. We are the standard, and that measurement is against the mirror and against a rich and proud history. But it's impossible to ignore what is taking place in college athletics. Hungry fan bases are acting decisively to give their respective programs competitive advantages. We must respond. We are Alabama. Join Yay, Alabama today. Man, he just said, JB, man, y'all got to cough up this money if we want to keep winning. You know, we know you buy season tickets. We know you tailgate. We know you buy our paraphernalia, our memorabilia. We know you buy the tickets and pay for the parking. We need more from you. You got to foot the bill so we can retain these players. This is a recipe for disaster in college football, because schools are going to start coming with their hands out, asking more from the fans. And I'm not sure if the fans are going to be getting more. They're going to be getting less. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Kentucky started this, or Tennessee, one of them. I think Tennessee or Kentucky. They started it last. Tennessee, yeah. So I think it's already out there. It's crazy to me. You're asking ticket holders, ticket sales, season ticket holders to even ante up more money. It blows my mind. I don't get it. It's crazy times, Jason. I don't know what to say. It's the Wild Wild West times 10 after last night's judge ruling for JUCO, which my name is hot in the media right now because everyone's actually asking me my thoughts. My whole show this morning was about this whole take. I had a couple guests on. JUCO football is this is all tied in together. This whole collective NIL thing that you're discussing with this Alabama issue is a direct correlation of what's going on in this whole Wild Wild West landscape we used to call college football. This is what it will be. I don't know how you put the paste back in the tube, Jason. It's only getting worse. After last night's ruling, it's only getting worse. So you're going to ask your fan base to pay your players? I don't know.
Hold for 1 second. Time together for me. They've now said you can go to JUCO for 2 years and retain 4 years of eligibility at a 4-year school. You think this is a bad thing?
Right now, 12 hours into the ruling, I'm only seeing the worst. Now, so basically you're saying junior college, which we have known our entire lives to be college football, right? We're calling it, that's hence junior college, the name. It's been college football for 100 years. John Madden played junior college. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, the list goes on and on, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, for God's sakes. So the list goes on for JUCO. Now we're saying junior college is not a college. It is a prep continuation of a high school. Because that, in essence, the reading of the law and the rule I'm looking at is what it is saying. If you can go 2 more years, that's a prep school, Jason. That is Fork Union. That is the military institutions that we used to send our kids to after high school. This COVID thing, and this is all a tie-in, Jason, to that. I'm just telling you. We have 8- and 9-year seniors. This kid wanted to chase $1 million bag. So he sued to get $1 million bag because he knows he's not an NFL player. And
this
now
kid, the quarterback at Vanderbilt, is that who you're talking about? Put a name on it.
Yeah, Diego. He has the Vanderbilt quarterback. He played at New Mexico Military Institute. He played at New Mexico Military Institute. They beat Iowa Western in the national championship of junior college more than 3 years ago. Just put in perspective. he played junior college over 3 years ago, won a national title. He goes to New Mexico University and beat Auburn and did great things, transfers to Vanderbilt. They beat Alabama. His name is on a national scale, and he's now known, and now he wants to make money off his name, image, and likeness, Jason. I'm not mad at that fact, but I'm mad that you're going to take one kid that he's played his time, Jason. He's played 4 years of football, Jason. Why is now everybody get a second, third, fourth opportunity? Everyone deserves a trophy era generation, man. It's sickening. I'm sick to my stomach. Junior college football will either implode and become null and void, or it will become a hustler's dream like me, and I will be Bill Belichick's direct pipeline to North Carolina. It's going to take one or two ways. You're either going to be a college prep JUCO, which is what it will be. I will pipeline my kids directly to Bill Belichick. I will develop, nurture, create a football camp, so to speak, because there's so many questions, Jason, to be answered. You can do a 10-hour show on this. I can, at least, on this whole topic. Jason, are the classes going to be transferable? Is an AA degree now applicable? Is a 4-2-4 rule even exist anymore? Can I leave Alabama, Jason, as a sophomore, go JUCO? Does my clock stop? So can I leave Alabama, go JUCO, stop the clock, and then come back to Alabama at 26 years old and be a 27-year-old senior and with eligibility? This is unbelievable times we're in, Jason. I'm just telling you right now. I don't believe the NCAA or this judge forward thought this. From all the readings that I can read into, people that are disagreeing with the viral message that I put out last night, half of them are saying, okay, the NCAA fought this, JB. It's not the NCAA's fault. Me being who I am, Jason, it's collusion in my opinion. The NCAA can care less. It wasn't a monetary lawsuit, Jason. The NCAA only cares about dollars. If they're not being sued for money, Jason, they are fine with this being a portal enhancement. This is what this is. This is a portal enhancement. Making JUCO a preparatory institution is only enhancing the portal, which we have 6,000 kids in right now, Jason. There's only 134 Division I playing schools. Do the math.
So here's what I hear on the JUCO ruling. It's another death blow to mid-major football. If I'm a kid coming out of high school, in my view, if I'm a kid coming out of high school, why would I choose mid-major? Oh, I can go to a JUCO and prepare for another year or two and try to get to a BCS, a Power 4, Power 5, whatever type school, and get me an NIL bag rather than, and again, junior college, the academic requirements aren't nearly as strong as at a regular mid-major school. So I can go play football, fart around for 2 years, mature, my body mature, stay in the weight room, and then go grab a bag from a Power 4 school 2 years later. I do think this is going to create more chaos. I think it's going to hurt more of the mid-major schools. And I look at what's going on with Alabama and what's going on across the board where people are begging fans to foot the bill for untested, really unproven talent. And so, hey, we got to make sure that all these kids have $100, $200, $300, $400,000 in cash every year so they can buy more gold chains and fast cars and hang around and be little baby rappers. All of these kids, and again, I don't want to paint it like it's the worst picture in the world, but their life is going to peak at age 21 or 22. They'll earn more money at 21, 22 than they will for the rest of their lives. They'll be lost. They'll be enticed to take risk with that money if they're not headed to the pros, I could sit here and tell you stories about guys that I played college football with. Not a bunch of them, but it was enough that was like, hey, if I don't make it to the NFL, I'm gonna be a dope dealer. And they did just that, and they've done the time. One of them was killed in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Anybody that went to Ball State with me knows who I'm talking about. It was years later, but he got killed by a Latin American drug cartel probably 10 years ago. But I'm just the things these kids are going to do with all this money and to try to maintain that lifestyle, because the overwhelming majority of them aren't going to make it to the NFL. It's just more and more chaos, and fans are being asked to foot the bill, and there's no leadership at the NCAA collegiate level. I look at Greg Byrne. I look at what is it, Stanky or Skanky? Who's the athletic or the commissioner? Greg Sankey. Yeah, the commissioner of the SEC. There's no leadership.
Yeah, there's not. And this is the issue. Leaders create more leaders, not more followers. I don't believe they understand that concept, because they don't come from the playing world, so to speak, or leading men in a locker room, so to speak. They come from the administrative world, where we're more political and bureaucratic. That's the difference. Those two don't mesh, Jason. They never have. You know the difference between you, Ball State locker room, and then going to Fox. The two worlds don't coexist. Here's the issue. It's not going to implode mid-major football. It is going to kill football in general, because your most organic recruiting lifeblood is what? High school. High school football got eliminated last night if this rule goes global. If this rule goes in place for everybody, not just Diego Vavia or whatever his name is, if it goes through for everybody, then everyone's going to now sue and get an injunction. And do you know how many thousands of kids ended their college career this year that now want to play another year to chase a bag of money? So thousands of kids are going to go file an injunction now. So guess what? All these street agents and trainers and these lawyers who now want to represent NIL deals are going to be approaching every senior that ended their college career a month ago, and now are going to say, hey, you can play next year again and go get an NIL bag. You know how many seniors just ended, Jason, that probably are tweeners between going to the NFL and needing another year of college to get on a radar for draft status? Do you know how many guys that is? So high school recruiting now, 17-year-olds, would you, Jason, recruit a 17-year-old high school kid or a 22-year-old JUCO kid that has 4 years of eligibility? Make it make sense. High school recruiting's done, Jason. It's over. It already has died. Now high school recruiting will be even worse. So this is killing fundamentally, organically, football in general. The well will run dry, Jason, from the 6,000 kids in the portal. Just remember, only 20% of those portal kids, fact, go to a school. Out of 6,000, only 20% will land at a school. So, having said that, where are the other 80% of the kids going? So now can they go JUCO and stop their clock? Which, by the way, clocks only stop for Greenpeace and Mormon missions. So that was the only two reasons your clock stopped. And let me give your fans a little bit of history lesson on what's going on. You and I played, Jason, there was a 10-semester rule. That means 5 years of football on a scholarship, 10 semesters. Do the math. 5 years times 2 semesters is 10 semesters. That's how many scholarship hours were allotted for you and I. Now, you're telling me that's totally thrown out the window? So now I can play 4 seasons of football on the grass, get my 5th year paid for academically, and work towards my master's degree, because I'll have my bachelor's in 4 years easily. Now half of that scholarship's paying for my master's. That was the old hustle. The new hustle will be now, how many semesters are we getting to play football, Jason? So Jermaine Johnson, first-round draft pick by the Jets, my kid on Netflix, played 2 years for me. He went to Georgia and played 2 years. COVID happened. COVID gave him a 5th year of eligibility on the football field. He transfers to Florida State. He's the ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He goes to the Jets in the first round. He makes millions of dollars. His eligibility was cooked, though. He played 2 for me, 2 at Georgia. COVID gives him another year. So now we're seeing 8th and 9th year guys playing on the grass at 27 years old. So now the legal limit of NFL draft picks will be what, 30? You know what it's doing as the trickle-down effect happens here? Do you know what the NFL product will look like in 10 years? It'll be what I've been saying for the last 5 years, a joke. That's why quarterback play is as bad as it is right now. We're not developing anymore whatsoever. Development is out the window. High school football is done. Now we're going to have a developmental league in JUCO, which will be preparatory. Go to a 4-year and play 6 to 7 years of college, what we used to call college football, Jason. Make it make sense. They haven't forward thought this. This is a joke. We're opening up Pandora's box in front of our very eyes. I believe you've eliminated the true blood life of what college football used to be. Matriculating too, Jason. What are we going to do? We're not matriculating nobody through the process anymore. We're not even recruiting for high school kids no more. So what are we going to do? We're going to take 22-year-olds out of a JUCO prep school and bring them to Alabama and have 4 years to play them, and they'll be 26, 27. And that's not going to just be a Mormon kid out of BYU no more, Jason. That's going to be everybody. Because everybody now has to keep up with the Joneses and recruit either the portal or what this new prep school will be, JUCO. I'm telling you, they haven't forward thought this. I'm just trying to give you as much insight as I possibly can in a 12-hour span between the time the ruling has happened with this Judge Campbell and what's going on today. In a year from now, we can probably reconvene and discuss this and say the good, the bad, and the ugly happened. But as of right now, I'm just trying to give you my most insight that I can give you with the experience I have, 35 years in the JUCO space. That is all I can try to give your audience. And everyone's blowing me up from CBS Sports to 247 are asking me my thoughts. I can't give you too much because we don't know if this is a national thing, Jason. Is it Diego Pava, only one guy? From what I'm reading, it's everybody because you can't do one and not do all. And Jason, here's the caveat no one was talking about. So Jason Whitlock, you play basketball at junior college. I play football. My clock stops, yours don't. Because the ruling is only addressed to football student athletes, not the band member, not the basketball player. This is a huge issue, not only financially, because JUCOs cannot sustain to stay open if you get now 300, 400 players to come in here. That's what it will be. You can't sustain it. So the NCAA will have to fund JUCO, which I would love to see. It ain't going to happen. And then you cannot make football players in junior college clock stop, but not basketball players. And you can't do it to the band member, the tennis player, the softball or baseball player. Only football is this ruling. That is a huge thing to talk about because now you're going to have all those other kids file an injunction and a lawsuit also. I want another year of eligibility as a tennis player, Jason, as a basketball player.
Let me stop there and just broaden the discussion in terms of we're in a revolutionary time, not just in the political space, but things are changing really, really fast. Deion Sanders has clearly changed what we look for in a college football coach. Now Mike Vick is going to be the head coach at Norfolk State. He had a shot, I guess, at Sacramento State. What do you think of Michael Vick as a college football coach at the HBCU right there in his home state of Virginia?
So it was a grab for Sacramento State out here in California to say that Vick was up for that job. He never was. That was Sacramento State doing some media marketing and PR to get attention on the job. And then you got the whole Doug Gottlieb thing saying Sacramento State does not have $50 million. His brother coached there. He should know. Adam Schefter attacked him and said, worry about winning some games at University of Wisconsin, Green Bay as the head coach. All this
Michael
drama
Vick.
going on. Yeah. Well, that's my point. All this thing's going on about Michael Vick going to Sac State was just to get him the Norfolk job. Virginia and California are two different worlds, Jason, as you know. Norfolk State is a bottom feeder. They've been bad forever. And this is another hire of a public figure. I mean, that's really what it is. He's never coached at any level, youth football, high school, anything. And I argue this with Smitty, Jason, on my show. Who's he going to hire? So, it's so easy to say, he's just going to hire a good staff. What is a good staff? Who are you going to hire? Are you going to hire a DC and pull him away from Alabama? That's a good coach. You're not going to get him. Can you pay a guy to leave a big school to Norfolk? No, you can't. You're not going to get a good coach. You're not going to get a good staff. You can get quality men. You can't pay them, Jason. Let's just be honest. So now I got a guy who's never coached, who doesn't know how to manage other coaches. Now it's in an NIL Wild Wild West era. And then I got to go recruit, which I've never done, just to say I'm Michael Vick. Half these guys won't even know who you are. So this is, again, you got a lot. I love Michael Vick and everything, but you're not Deion. And Deion is one of one in this space because Deion was probably the top one or two players that ever walked this earth. Vick was great and all, but let's be honest. Is he ready to do this? And are people really going to jump to Norfolk State in a bad neighborhood, Jason? He's from Newport News. I get it. But have you ever been to Norfolk State? It is in the middle of the worst area in that area.
I get it. It's no worse than Jackson State. Trust me. It's no worse than Jackson State.
Norfolk
and
neighborhood's worse.
Man, I don't know.
I recruited them.
You ain't watched the videos I've watched. There's some potholes so big.
But who's going to send their
There's swimming pools for dogs.
Jason, what single mother, let's just be honest, that's what we're recruiting here, single mothers. What single mother sending their kid to Norfolk, Virginia to play in the hood? That whether at least Jackson and Jackson State at least has surrounding areas that I can get to. Norfolk, I'm just telling you, is a bad situation in a bad area and a long ways away from a lot of stuff. Unless you're recruiting the Baltimore, D.C. area, where are you getting kids from? Florida? Carolinas? Ain't happening. Sorry. It's going to be a tough one.
It is. I'm sure there will be maybe not the money that they need to make it happen, but there will be an influx of money coming along with Michael Vick. I'm sure this isn't. And look, Michael Vick will bring TV cameras with him. He and his wife and family have been involved in a reality TV show for a long time. It's a unique approach. I do think kids love cameras. Kids. A lot of HBCUs are in the hood, and I think Jackson State can go toe-to-toe. Jackson, Mississippi can go toe-to-toe with Norfolk, Virginia, but we'll let the experts.
Yeah, it could. But you know who's going to go there, Jason? Seriously, who's going to go to Norfolk is going to be the same guys that are at Norfolk right now. And that's bad football players. I'm just telling you, that's what it's going to be.
We shall see. Remember the Titans. Or remember the movie Coach Carter, or I don't know, any of these movies. JB, last thing, I posted this on my X account yesterday, I believe. Someone posted about Kirk Cousins getting benched and saying this is just another example of the end of the pocket passers. Yeah, here it is. Kirk Cousins just got benched. Brady retired. Peyton retired. Eli retired. Breeze retired. Phillip Rivers retired. Big Ben retired. Matty Ice retired. Favre retired. Carson Palmer, Kurt Warner, Tony Romo. Pocket passers will not exist in 2040. Your thoughts?
Well, the pocket passers in the NFL right now are all playoff teams. and probably going to favor in the Super Bowl other than Josh Allen. So Goff, Love, Sam Darnold, I believe, are 12-2. Matthew Stafford is now going to be the NFC West playoff contender that nobody wants to play in the NFL playoffs. I'm just telling you. Russell Wilson takes Pittsburgh to a elite team, pocket guy. The only bad pocket guys that we have in the league right now are Tua and a few others. The only and Herbert and Burrow are fighting for playoff spots still. Burrow has not been eliminated, but possibly could have one of the best seasons ever from the quarterback position, even though they're on a bad team. Last I checked, he's a pocket guy. The guys that are leading the NFL in passing every statistical category are pocket guys, other than Lamar Jackson, who's had his best year, in my opinion, but will finally, I think they'll give it to Josh Allen, who's not a pocket guy traditionally. He's more of a hybrid, but more pocket guys exist right now that are winning games than are losing them. So the guys that are running around, Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray's, all these guys are absolutely atrocious. And they're not sustainable, and they can't play long time, and they can't make a simple read and a simple throw, which will cost them in the long run. By the way, your boy, Patrick Mahomes, is a pocket guy, contrary to belief. So I'm just saying that's an asinine question. That's a question that 2040, Jason, come on, that's 15 years from now. Do we really think that it's not going to come back full circle? It'll come back full circle. We'll be back in 21 personnel I-backs because the linebackers are now 205 and 15 pounds in the NFL. And they're not 250 anymore, if you haven't noticed, because they have to stop RPO and go sideline to sideline. They're not taking on fullbacks and tight ends in A-gap anymore, if anyone's noticed the change of football. So in 15 years, I wouldn't be surprised if linebackers are back again at 250. We got fullbacks back involved, and we're doing this thing that we used to do called football. And we actually play again with pads and helmets and hit each other, not pull flags and cry and mope. So I think I'm going to be optimistic, Jason, that I'm such an optimistic human, as you all know. I'm going to say that we'll be back full circle. We'll be back full circle, and it'll be a man's league again and not a woman's league. And I think we'll be back in playing football. And I believe the pocket passer will still exist. By the way, show me a guy that we've either paid absorbent amounts of money to, i.e. Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Kyler Murray, the list goes on, that has won a Super Bowl. I'll wait for that. It's still the pocket passing guy that's the slow, methodical guy that makes the right decision. So we can talk about Brady, Stafford, Mahomes. Just go down the list. Show me the guy running around back there that's won a Super Bowl. It hasn't happened. It won't happen. And you can still try to get rid of them if you want to. But at the end of the day, the coach and the GM knows what wins. And that's the guy that make the read. 1, 2, 3, throw the dang ball away. Stop running around for your life. That is where we are. The pocket guy will always be here, and it'll probably come full circle.
JB, I got to let you go. Great job as always. Thank you so much. That's the real JB. Last chance you, last chance Q. We're going to keep the conversation going. We're going to bring TJ Moe into the show to talk a little bit about the betting market on Travis Hunter and his girlfriend. We're going to circle back to Ryan Clark. We'll do all that in a moment. But before we get to TJ, I want to talk to you guys about preborn. A new Danish study shows that a year after aborting, women exhibited a 50% higher likelihood of first-time psychiatric treatment and an 87% higher likelihood of personality and behavior disorders. Abortion is not health care. It's basically the death of a woman's mental health. It's certainly the death of a child. No organization does a better job of protecting women, protecting their mental health, protecting the lives of unborn babies than preborn. Preborn provides expected mothers an ultrasound. That ultrasound introduces the mother to the baby while the baby's in the womb, heartbeat, image of the baby. Now she's twice as likely to choose life. Preborn steps in, steps up, and for up to 2 years, they will support that woman and the baby. Preborn's an amazing organization. It's part of our mission here at Fearless to support preborn because we believe life begins at conception, and we want to help mothers make the right decisions so that they're not haunted mentally, emotionally for the rest of their life. 2 ways to give. Pound 250, say the keyword baby, pound 250, keyword baby, or give the way that I prefer to give, preborn.com/fearless. Right now, we'll take $28. We'll take $280. We'll take $2.80. But right now, we're looking for leadership gifts of $5,000, $10,000, and $15,000. It's the holiday season. It's the Christmas season. It's the time for great giving. It's the time to let God know that you're on his team. And one of the great ways you can let God know that is by supporting the unborn baby in the womb of a mother who's considering abortion. Preborn.com/fearless, pound 250, say the keyword baby. We'll be back with TJ Moe next.
Your brain, exploit yourself for gain, exceed your own expectations, expose your every flaw, explain to one and all how to excel in every situation. But don't put an X in my Christmas, 'cause Jesus is the reason for it all. Yes, Santa Claus is cool, but when I celebrate my Yule, it's about that baby in the manger, and not how I deck my halls. Don't put an X in my Christmas, oh, 'cause Xmas in my world will never do. But if you have to put an X in something, then Twitter's got an X that's just for you.
All right, welcome back. Let's roll out to St. Louis, Missouri, the Show Me State, bring in the Show Me Kid, TJ Moe. TJ, John Hadley pointed out to me this morning that there's a betting market on Travis Hunter's relationship with this young girl, Leanna. This is sad. It's an indication of the corruption and the decay of our culture that we're now betting and trying to make money off of whether or not a relationship is going to survive. But I also think it's almost like it's some incentive for her. Her and her family could say, hey, in 3 months, I'm going to end this relationship. Let's all go heavy go heavy in this market, and I'll call off the relationship, and we'll all make money off of me ending my relationship with Travis Hunter. The whole thing just seems crazy. It seems like something that should be, to me, I think it should be illegal. We shouldn't be turning people's personal lives into money-making opportunities, but here we are. Your thoughts?
I mean, people bet on anything, right? And so put it in front of them. We bet on the coin toss in the Super Bowl. People are, shooting dice in the corner of the locker room. People bet. It's what they do. I'm not a gambler, but that exists. It is no different though. But just by the way, this is exactly what she wants. This is any woman, particularly young woman, who's on social media today and posts the videos and things like she does all the time. This is everything they're asking for. They want to be the center of attention. The social media today has replaced the reality shows, your favorite shows, Jason, Jersey Shore, the Kardashians, Real Housewives, things like that, Real World. People used to bet on that stuff all the time. It just, stuff was, you had to go to Vegas to do it, or you'd have to do it, offshore. And so I told you I used to do a radio show with Jim Edmonds, Cardinals Hall of Famer, center fielder. He was on Real Housewives of Orange County with a girl named Megan King, and their relationship was so public, people bet on this stuff. Are they going to stay together? They got divorced. Well, that stuff you could all bet on. And so I don't know if Travis wants this. His fiance certainly does. This is how she's getting famous, and she's using him to do it because no one would ever in her life have a clue who she was without Travis Hunter.
She's a different kind of Hawk Tua. She's probably a bit more calculated than Hawk Tua, but I do think of, when I thought of this, I thought of Hawk Tua in terms of like, man, these women, young girls are coming from out of nowhere, building up these social media followings. One minute we have no idea who they are. The next minute, everybody has all these very strong opinions about them and their actions and behaviors. And there's just cash registers ringing in all of their eyes and ears, and maybe they know exactly what they're doing. And it makes me think that, and again, I'm straying way off course, but it's how my mind works or what I just thought of. Because I saw earlier today, too, that this Hawk Tua girl, after this meme coin or Bitcoin or crypto fiasco where she made a bunch of money, now she's disappeared from the internet because she might be in trouble, she might not be in trouble. But this whole Haley Welch thing has always kind of blown my mind. I was suspicious of it from the beginning, and I'm even more suspicious of it now. Like, are these plants? Are these things actually organic? Was the Hawk Tua thing just an accidental interview? Because things came together so quickly for her, it doesn't feel organic.
Jason, I wanted to disagree with TJ real quick. I think you're more Rock of Love than you are Kardashian. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, like, if this is the betting market, of course they should, they put all their money on breaking up, but like, what's the timetable on that? Do they have to never get back together? It's kind of an odd bet. Like, how can they actually fundamentally do that? This is the modern world. This is 2025. Everyone's got a platform. Everyone's got a camera and a distribution channel right to the public. This is exactly what the world is, man.
Someone should have put up a betting market if I would fall out of love with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
And when would that happen? That would have been a good bet. Because I don't know how I would have bet on that. I would have said never, but here we are.
There's a chance to rekindle that relationship.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Hadley says the bet is before the draft. So there is a timeline on that bet. So there is some framework. Jason, to your point about, like, are these organic? I think they are. Do you remember the girl, Lily Goddess, who would do those cooking videos? And she said the N-word. And, she was like the conservative girl who would just say anything. And she came and went because people who don't do like a slow build have no idea what they're doing. Haley Welch was guaranteed to fall out because she has no idea what she's doing. This girl will fall out so long as, maybe she won't fall out as long as she's with Travis Hunter. But there's no staying power for these people. They don't know what they're doing. This is why the Bible says it's actually a really bad thing to get rich fast, right? It is not a good thing because you don't know what you're doing. You're going to blow your money, get hooked on meth. And it's probably a way better idea to go, $20,000 at a time, $100,000 at a time. Then someday you'll look up, have $10 million bucks, but winning the lottery, those people go broke faster than anybody.
I think Haley Welch has had or has handlers. I don't think I'm now gone very conspiratorial as it relates to Hawk Tua. Virtually none of it's organic. Maybe the interview on the street was, but as soon as that thing popped, the next day someone said, hey, there's a money-making opportunity here, and we can launch this girl, and we can pass her around Hollywood. And, as soon as I saw Shaq in town in Nashville meeting her and greeting her, I was like, holy cow, they're running through this girl so quick. Choo-choo! But look, let me stop there before I've already gone too far. Let me stop there. There's another topic I want to get to you with, TJ, first, but let me take care of a tiny bit of business. Home title lock. Have you ever checked the title to your home? If you're like me, the answer is probably you haven't or you weren't in the routine. That's exactly what scammers are counting on. In today's world, you need to take personal responsibility for protecting your biggest asset, your home. The FBI calls it house stealing, and let me tell you, this is a real problem. Here's how it happens. A criminal fills out a one-page document with your information, forges your signature, stamps it with a phony notary seal, and files it with the county. Just like that, your home isn't legally yours anymore. These criminals don't even want your house. They're after your equity. They take out loans against your property, then disappear, leaving you with debt and a legal nightmare to deal with. But you can take action and protect yourself. That's why I trust Home Title Lock to protect my greatest asset. Their triple lock protection monitors your home's title 24/7, alerts you of any changes, and if God forbid you're a victim, they work fast to restore your title with no out-of-pocket cost to you. Don't wait until it's too late. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code FEARLESS for a free 30-day trial and a free title history report to ensure your home hasn't already been compromised. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code FEARLESS, or use the link in the description for 30 days of protection and a free title report. Take action now and protect what's yours. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. TJ, been a major feud, dispute going on between Ryan Clark and Aaron Rodgers. They've been going back and forth. You dug into the vault and and dug up like, hey, here's Ryan Clark some time ago really going after Aaron Rodgers and maybe getting into the history of what happened to them they met and played against each other in the Super Bowl. And I watched this video, and at first I was like, I think Ryan Clark's just kind of telling a good, funny story. And then the longer it went, I was like, hold on, this dude really does seem to have a problem with Aaron Rodgers over a touchdown pass that was thrown in a Green Bay-Pittsburgh Super Bowl game. Let's play SOT number 2. Let's give this bit of history. Here's Ryan Clark recalling Aaron Rodgers mocking him during their Super Bowl clash.
You did it so quickly. That play that we just showed and the look on your face it's painful for me to see as your friend. But you're saying that
Greeny, it's
Yeah.
not.
Go ahead.
It's not painful, Greeny. I told you before, we have had this conversation. I had already told my kids that Daddy was going to get a free trip to Disney World. You talk about Mike McCarthy, he gave a new language to the Dallas Cowboys. That language is simple. It is English for me. I knew exactly what the play was, Greeny. I told Jordan, Jaden, Logan, and I said, I just signed the paper. Daddy's going to get to say, we're going to Disney World. He never saw me. I locked Ike on the backside. I was ready to go, Greeny. He never looked at me because he's so good, he don't need to see the other people. He throws the ball over my hand. I roll over. I'm dejected. I've now let the city of Pittsburgh down, myself, my children. I've let the whole entire Louisiana down. I'm still feeling good, though. We might win. They call timeout because we start balling a little bit. He looks at me. He says, hey, 2-5. First off, Aaron, you know my freaking name. You've been studying for this game for 2 weeks. Don't call me 2-5. My friends call me that. You ain't my friend. And then he gonna tell me, and it wasn't that it was just this much out of my reach. It's that he had the gumption, the gall, the audacity in my lowest of times to stick salt in the wound. And so listen, do I love the player? Yes. Do I want to fist fight the person? Yes. And I ain't scared. I don't care. Green Bay, Wisconsin not gonna jump on me no more because he's finna be gone. We gonna see about that one day, Aaron. I'm telling you.
So I heard a lot of that is just like the way Greenberg and they hear, hey, he's telling a funny story. But I do think it left a bit of a mark. And he's sitting there, and that part of this thing that's fueling and feeding this feud is he's been waiting for his opportunity to talk smack on Aaron Rodgers. And that's what led to the big rant about what a fraud he is And anyway, your thoughts on that so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, you sort of pointed this out on our call. He was undrafted. He was a guy that had to play with a chip on his shoulder. Doesn't let things go. This was the Super Bowl, and he thinks they lost the game by that much because he couldn't quite get to the ball. And then, after, again, he brings up his kids, couldn't take him to Disney World. I just let down the state of Louisiana. I let down my team. Myself goes through, and then says he was taunted. You don't let that kind of thing go. And you know that because every opportunity he has to shred Aaron's legacy, he does. I mean, you go back. We played the clip yesterday, and the clip yesterday may not have been out of bounds, but it was him turning the knife over and over. Well, yes, he's an unbelievable player. However, his legacy sucks. It's tarnished. This is his last 3 times walking off the field in Green Bay. This is who he is. Then he comes after him and calls him a fraud. Nobody calls him a good leader. Nobody calls him a good friend. He's going after him personally because just like in that clip, he hates him personally. Professionally, it's hard to argue with a guy who's one of the most gifted, top 5 most gifted quarterbacks of all time. Really hard to rip on that guy and get any respect. Personally, though, he hates the man, and that's obvious.
I'm watching this feud play out, and I'm like, in this modern era, and you and Bud are both young. I don't know if this will hit you the way that it does me. But do you know how respected Dan Marino was? And yet he never won a Super Bowl, but everybody was like, holy cow, man, Dan Marino, what a baller, what a competitor, what he did with the Dolphins. It was a joy to watch. And if he were in this era now where everything is under a microscope, and if you don't win a Super Bowl or don't win, in Aaron Rodgers' case, if you don't win enough Super Bowls, you potentially are a fraud and this and that, and the media really has changed, and there's all this. The athletes think they've helped the media, they've improved the media. I don't think that's the case at all. I think sports media was better when it was less. I mean, there were plenty of jocks in TV positions, but they weren't the dominant voice and influence that they are now. They're not more fair. People aren't getting treated more fairly, and athletes aren't better understood in this era than in the previous era when it was actually trained journalists driving most of the discussion, and then the athletes would react to the framing of the trained journalists. Now we have Instagram models as the host and athletes as the prominent voice, mixed in with some woman that's there for DEI, and maybe there's a touch of journalism in these deals. They've actually helped destroy the media rather than enhance the media.
I think that's an excellent point. I will tell you, there's a place for players, and that's breaking down the game. I don't want to hear journalists break down the game that much. I don't think most journalists know that much about the game. If you're talking about sitting down and having discussions on these personality shows or whatever we got going on now, yeah, I don't know that the players are the best place for that, but I do think there's a place for the players. I just think, I made this point one of the very first times I ever came on this show. I made this point that corporate media uses athletes. And just like they did for the vaccine, they use athletes who, whatever their position, I actually don't think Ryan Clark is a stupid person. I disagree with every one of his values, I think, but I don't think he's an overall stupid person. But here's what happened. You know how Charleston White has told, he used to be a little more buttoned up, clean cut, and black people couldn't hear him. And so he said, look, I got to start talking a little more ghetto. I got to start swearing a lot so black people can hear me. ESPN has done this for Ryan Clark in the opposite way. Hey, these white people need to have a clean-shaven, buttoned-up, woke black man, and we can set him in front of these people, and they'll buy this woke narrative because it's not coming from somebody ghetto. And that's Ryan Clark's job. This is part of what I think Aaron Rodgers is saying. This is why he's getting paid $2 million right now to sit up and defend Deshaun Watson without a shred of evidence that there's anything that he was innocent in any way. This is why he's able to get up there and refuse to go on set with Sage Steele just because she's conservative. He is the woke joke, but he's seen as the black intellectual. I'm the guy, but no, I wear custom suits everywhere I go. Look at me, I'm Ryan Clark. He is the Charleston White for white people. I'm telling you, that's his job. This is part of what Aaron Rodgers is trying to say.
Jason, can I add a little bit of a Butter perspective here?
Please, Butter, please.
TJ, I want to read a statement first. I'm going to read a quick statement, and then I'm going to make my point, because this is what Ryan Clark is all about. Ryan Clark had a dream that one day his kids would grow up in a country where they are not judged by the content of their character, but for the color of their skin. And he's made a business out of this. He, and this whole thing, at the root of it, is about one thing. It's Pat McAfee. This is a white and black issue. That's why he is going so aggressively after Aaron Rodgers, because he can. This is a safe spot for him to get out his angst at what's going on at ESPN and the way that he views Pat McAfee and that whole camp is treated differently than he feels he's treated. That is the root of all of this to me, in my opinion.
I don't think you're far from the truth there. I think that's pretty accurate for someone who's never been inside ESPN's building or politics. That's a pretty good observation that, you know, Pat McAfee being the king of all media at ESPN.
He resents that.
He's a freaking punter. That should be me. I actually played in Super Bowls, played a real position. I risked my life. He's a punter. He didn't even really wear pads, blah, blah, blah. How is a punter doing this? Yes, is jealousy a part of what's going on with Ryan Clark? I think without question. Did we make a full screen of my Laverne and Squirrely? Did we do that? My Laverne and Squirrely, these people that wear brooches, they reminded me. Do you guys know who Laverne and Shirley are? Are you guys too young for that?
That was a back in the day. That's a throwback, isn't it?
Shamil, Shamazo, Habasson Incorporated, blah, 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 blah. We're going to do it. Anyway, I can't sing, but maybe Shemeka remembers Laverne and Shirley, and that's Ryan Clark reminds me of Laverne. Yeah, Laverne and Shirley. Penny Marshall. I think, is the other woman named Cindy Williams, maybe? I can't remember. Cindy Williams, there was a black actress named Cindy Williams that went to Ball State with me. I think she was in Mo Better Blues. But anyway, Penny Marshall and I think Cindy Williams were the stars of that show. There was a spinoff. You guys remember Happy Days?
Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley's a spinoff from Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley used to make some guest appearances on Happy Days. I can't remember if it was Laverne or Shirley that kind of dated the Fonz. But it was a very good show. They were factory workers in Milwaukee. I think they worked at a
Pepsi plant, right?
Beer distributor.
A beer distributor.
Yeah, beer distributor in Milwaukee. It's a terrific show. Here, let me finish up by playing this. Ryan Clark, he had a response to Aaron Rodgers' attack on him the other day, where Aaron mentioned the brooch that he wears, or what the pendant, or what are the Laverne lapel that he wears. Aaron Rodgers and wanted to check his vax status. Here's Ryan Clark's response to Aaron Rodgers.
No, let me be clear, because I know you want us to list these things. My name is Ryan Clark. Played 13 years in the NFL, been to 2 Super Bowls. I have as many rings as you do. I was the captain of 2 separate football teams. I'm also an Emmy winner. I'm also the co-host, owner, and partner of an Emmy-nominated podcast called The Pivot. Now, I know something else you were very interested in was my vaccination status. And yes, I'm vaxxed because I have no spleen, I have no gallbladder, because of playing in Denver and being willing to go back, honestly, and play again. Because I've been in those locker rooms, and I've talked to people that have been in the locker rooms with you. I have the stories. I have all the things that they said that informed my opinion of who you are. And as far as your vaccination status, so you can stop trying to trick people into thinking that we want to talk about that above the stink of your film, I've never heard it one more time after your incident. And the only reason we spoke about it then was because based on your vaccination status, it was going to determine how long you were out. And also, people didn't care that you weren't vaccinated. They cared that you were slimy about it. They cared that you were deceitful about it. And they cared that you had this air of arrogance when answering the questions about it. My job is to analyze you. You've decided to analyze me. And in analyzing you, what I know is your QBR is 21st. I also know that you're the quarterback of a 4-10 team who has to win the last 3 games of the season to even be equal to what last year's team was without you. Now, I get it. You get on the show and you talk about my brooch and you curse and all this tough talk. I just need you to know, don't none of that scare me. Host of an Emmy-nominated podcast. And speaking of that jealousy and guest stuff, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Mike Tomlin, Devontae Adams, Joe Burrow, Shaq, just to name a few. No money, just relationships, conversations, and respect. It's what I tried to give you. And we'll keep it that way as long as you want it like that. Appreciate you.
He's not scared. I don't think Aaron was challenging him to a fight, but
Is that Travis Hunter's girlfriend? Or what was that? What video was that we just watched?
Guys, I take it back.
What?
Ryan is retarded. I take back what I said.
he got the vax because he doesn't have a spleen, or what was the other one he didn't have because he played in Denver? Gallbladder.
Yeah.
That's why he got the vax.
He's got sickle cell.
I don't think
His deal is sickle cell. I'm pretty certain he's got sickle cell.
Gotcha.
So I don't know that I do know about him, and that they're a little more careful with that. The only thing that was obviously a prepared statement, every word of it. So that's why he wasn't looking at the screen. He was reading it. Everything he does, I think, is produced. This is why, again, look, if we want to talk about frauds, can we talk about how the guy said he's going to come out and respect the president of the United States and got just a little bit of pushback, and the next day he had a fully produced video saying, I'll never respect the president. I've heard you loud and clear. I didn't mean that. The guy is whatever the woke people say he has to be. He's a fraud, okay? And so the big pushback I'd give on this video, though, is that people weren't upset that Aaron Rodgers was not getting the vax. Did he not listen to people talk during COVID? Did he not listen to Michael Wilbon rip into Kyrie Irving and Stephen A. Smith and all these guys? Everybody said, listen, you grandma killer, get the vaccine or else. What are you talking about? That was the biggest psyop in the history of the United States. Yes, people are upset that he didn't get the vaccine.
I do think people were upset he didn't get the vaccine. I don't think they were upset. Well, he's saying they were upset because he tried to be slick about it. No, most people were like, hey, I'm getting the vax. I don't want to, so you get the vax. So we all do this together. Don't you see all these sheep jumping off the building? We're all jumping together. And because Aaron Rodgers and a handful of other people said, no, I'm not jumping off that building. I'm not going to be a sheep. And that's what Aaron Rodgers is calling Ryan Clark a sheep, that he's basically saying, hey, Ryan, you're not as smart as you think you are. You think you're this brilliant guy. You do all these produced deals that try to position you as this ultimate intellectual and an intelligent person. And he's like, nah, man, you were a sheep and you took the vaccine you shouldn't have. Calling him out on that. I don't want to go to, because Ryan, I don't want to go as far as calling Ryan fully fraudulent, because I do think the chip on his shoulder in his mind is why he made it to the NFL. Holding grudges against people that he thought slighted him is why he thinks he made it in the NFL for 13 years. He has this whole narrative about himself that he's this incredible underdog story. I was undrafted and I played 13 years in the NFL, and he takes a lot of pride and satisfaction in proving all those people wrong. Mm-hmm. My understanding of Ryan is that he is someone that is trying to have a faith journey. And so my only criticism would be tap into some humility, Ryan. And all this stuff that you think you did with this chip on your shoulder and no one thought you could do this or do that, get a little deeper into your faith, and you would start to understand it's not you, it was God. So tone it down. You've done nothing. I've done nothing. Aaron Rodgers has done nothing. TJ's done nothing. If you're a believer, you need to authentically get in that mindset. And if you remove that chip and that whole deal that it's some grudge or some slight that has to motivate you. And I know Michael Jordan tapped into it to become this great basketball player, but it's actually not the proper motivation for a balanced life, for something that's sustainable and healthy. It may have helped you get motivated to play football. It may have gotten Michael Jordan motivated to play basketball. But now, you know what? You don't play football anymore. Michael Jordan doesn't play basketball anymore. So these perceived slights, they serve no purpose. Now, in games and things that don't matter, they may serve a purpose and help you become a better football player, a better basketball player. But child's play is over now. We're all adults now. Remove the chip. Judge and talk about Aaron Rodgers more fair. Let the football stuff go. It's over. Let the Super Bowl slight go. It's over. It's meaningless. Just do your job. Deal with this man fairly. Deal with him the way you would deal with any other athlete. Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton, any of the black quarterbacks that you go out of your way to show them some mercy, show them some grace, try to be sympathetic towards them. Give Aaron Rodgers the exact same thing. That would be my take. TJ, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We got to keep it moving. I want to get to Shemeka Michelle and talk about black. Have you heard this? Did you know that black women are downsizing, Butter? Shemeka's going to explain. Shemeka and I will talk about it.
No more big mamas?
They're downsizing. They've been living high on the hog. And according to an article, I think in The Root or the Griot or somewhere, I think in The Root, they're downsizing. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But before we get to Shemeka Michelle, I want to tell you about American Financing and an opportunity they have for you. Today's economic environment is still really stressful for a lot of us, but with the Fed finally dropping interest rates, there is no better time than now to put you and your family in a better financial position. If you're a homeowner, American Financing is helping thousands of families just like you who have been putting everyday expenses on credit cards. They're helping you get out from underneath that debt by tapping into your home's equity. American Financing is saving their borrowers more than $800 a month on average. $800 a month, that's like a $10,000 raise at work, and it costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. They're closing some in as little as 10 days, and if you start today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. There is no better time than now to turn your situation around. Call today, 888-976-5555. That's 888-976-5555, AmericanFinancing.net/Whitlock. AmericanFinancing.net/Whitlock. Shemeka Michelle.
NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
John Rocker was at the top of Major League Baseball world. He was a closer for the Atlanta Braves. They were competing for World Series titles.
But yes, saying Asians and Koreans, they're all Asians. Idiot.
He was involved in a controversial interview and story.
Oh, it's just New York. That's just what we do in New York. We dog cuss you and tell you what a whore your mother is. I just blankety blanked your sister last night.
You picked a fight with New York.
Yeah.
Do you regret that?
Not at all. Somebody had to. And I'm out here trying to shack fly balls. I'm out here trying to get loose to go in the bullpen and perform my job. I believe a gay man is born gay. I believe there's something about your DNA makeup that makes you a gay man. I think the same thing about liberals.
This whole empathy and sympathy and everybody's a victim, that's a learned mindset.
Wouldn't you say there's a lot more liberals that are more effeminate than masculine? You don't see a lot of Navy SEALs being liberals. The liberal person almost has a look about them. This 12-year-old kid had like a 3-minute long choreographed dance to this song. 12 years old. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but something ain't right about this, man.
So they were looking for a right-wing, polarizing athlete.
Yeah, just to stir the
pot. Came down between you and Bill Romanowski. Yeah.
So I would like to finish my day off, having a cocktail or two, smoking a cigar, and I would go on Twitter, and anybody that was like talking trash to me on Twitter, I'd have a couple cocktails, and we'd just start just wearing them out on Twitter.
John, thank you so much. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Jason. It was fun.
All right, welcome back. Do I have the story that I'm basing this on? I see it in the headline, but I don't know if I have the story. Hadley, text me a link to the story, please, or someone text me a link to the story so that I can do this properly. Shemeka, welcome to the show. But there's a story in The Root about downsizing. And black women downsizing. Someone quickly text me this. Shemeka, and you have any thoughts while I wait on this story? You have any thoughts on anything you heard on today's show?
Anything I heard on today's show, y'all talked about so much, and of course I get caught up in the chat a lot. I thought it was funny when Coach JB said something about now we're going to have like high schoolers being 27 years old. That sounded like a stretch, but I was trying to follow him to understand where he was going with that.
You just, I'm going to keep it moving. I'm not even going to comment on what you just did and what you just said. I've got the story that I want to address with you, and I want your thoughts on this. I read this story in The Root. Everyone has a say on why experts claim black women and white women make the perfect couple. Everybody is saying that, based on statistics, black women married to white men has the best success rate according to this article in The Root. And as someone pointed out this morning, it seems like black women are downsizing and finding it more comfortable and more sustainable by downsizing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely don't think black women find it more comfortable to downsize. We can just look at them at first glance and realize they have no interest in doing that. But I get where you're coming from.
Now
Butter just got the joke.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Now I'm up to speed on this. I don't like this conversation. Sorry, Shemeka. Go ahead. And it's not true. Go ahead, Shemeka.
I thought it was. I don't know, Butter. Have you ever seen a gerbil when it's first born?
Hey, I'm a grower, not a shower, so I can't say nothing.
Anyway, the story goes on to say, you may have noticed a trend on social media of black women who look happy as hell in love with white men, even if they've had to give them a glow up after they get together. Who could forget the viral black wife effect videos that had everyone talking just a few months ago? But many experts and influencers say this pairing is about more than just a trend and suggest black women who may not have previously thought about it leave the door open for a relationship with a white guy. Shemeka, I know we've had many white men in our audience who have been very disappointed with your unwillingness to even consider dating a white man. And now there's a story and stats out here that say you're actually in the wrong.
What I think this story is saying, Jason, is that all of the black women that are willing to do it should just go ahead and do that so that there are more black men left for the rest of us that say absolutely not. Because I'm willing to submit at times, Jason, because we have a territorial soldier in the chat that wanted me in a burqa or a hijab. And this was the best I could do. I tried to give him what he asked for. So, but as far as dating white men, it's just not my thing. When I think about the men that I've always admired my entire life, my grandfather, my uncles, neighbors, people at church, they have just been black men. So I would hate to actually get with the white man and be just longing for BBC.
She said, Belle Biv DeVoe, is that what she said?
Belle Biv DeBarge.
Oh. You know what? I'm gonna move this conversation to safer territory. What was popping in the chat today?
All right, so we have a few super chats and a couple of personal questions for you, Jason, today. Bailey Thompson super chat says, "Is Vic trying to follow in Sanders' footsteps?"
Of course he's trying to follow in Deion's footsteps. Deion's about to get an incredible payday from the University of Colorado, and I'm sure Michael Vick would love to do the same thing. Next.
RJ Sports Facts says, "Whit, are you and Marcellus Wiley still friends, and why don't you bring him on the show?"
That's a great question. Yes, we're still friends. And yes, I want to bring Marcellus onto the show. I've been delaying the request because I want my home studio done, because I want to bring Marcel. I want to do it from my home studio in a longer form conversation. I don't want to do it over Skype. And so now that I'm in my home and we're finishing up the final details of my home, I'm going to attempt to make that happen. I would love to have Marcellus on the show. Anybody that sees me on social media, whether it be Instagram or X, I try to support Marcellus and all of his work, reposting his work, commenting on his work from time to time. Yeah, I'm a supporter of Marcellus Wiley. Next.
Super chat from Joseph Morrison says, "Your thoughts on Umar Johnson? I think he's a race baiting jerk off who in 2024 has a 1924 mindset that would put Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Clark to shame."
I go back and forth on Umar. There was a time when it's not that I agree with Umar, but I actually thought and think there is some substance to Umar and some things about Umar that I find worthy of supporting. And then there's part of me that thinks like Umar's kind of a gimmick. He's a poor substitute for Malcolm X or Louis Farrakhan or Marcus Garvey. It kind of says, it kind of speaks to how far things have fallen and how unserious we are. That most people, they see Dr. Umar and they get a little smile on their face. He's gonna give you 20 lashes for messing with snow bunnies. He's kind of more of a character than formidable opposition to anybody or anything. But in the past, I've been supportive of Umar. I do think there's some intelligence there. I think he's got a great vocabulary. I think he has some command of history, but it does, I think, and Shemeka, I want you to chime in here. I mean, if I get down to what I really think, I think Umar loves black women and loves just traveling around the country dating. Giving speeches and going out on dates with the black women he enthralls with his vocabulary. I think Umar is, the love boat just sailing around the United States, servicing and service. Is that the right? Anyway, I think Umar is on the chocolate love boat just floating around the black ocean of America.
Yeah, I think that may be true, Jason, but sometimes he reminds me, do you remember the episode of Martin when they had that real militant black guy on there and they had gone skiing and Tommy brought this white woman with him, and when no one was watching, they got together and they were all over each other, but this was like some black power militant black guy who just everything white was wrong. Sometimes Umar, kind of puts me in the mind of that. I'm wondering what's really happening behind closed doors. Like could this, against snow bunnies be a real snow bunny obsession? We don't know.
Oh, he protests too much is what you're saying, that he actually has a fantasy of he likes the slopes, but he just doesn't want anybody to know he likes the ski slopes, huh?
Yeah, he comes across as that a lot. If you remember that episode of Martin, that's who he puts me in the mind of when he talks. Just, I don't know, like this whole obsession with having to prove how black you are, I just don't understand it because I am who I am. There's no need for me to constantly say black, 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 because it just, that's who I am. So when someone starts to do that constantly, it just kind of makes me, look at them real weird.
Do you remember the scene? I think it's from the movie Don't Be a Menace while drinking gin and juice in the hood. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And they got the backyard party going on and the real militant brother, they show him and they think he's looking at this black woman and he's actually looking at this olive oil looking character. That's who and wasn't one of the Wayans brothers that I think played that role? Yeah, that's what I think of more than Martin. I think of that scene from Don't Be a Menace. But anyway, next.
Christopher Powell sent a super chat. He says, TJ went to a school that said Alabama plays old man football, and I wonder what he thinks about that style now. Pray for Steve. He's traveling to the Stone Age land. Coach JB speaks truth. Shemeka is great. And then he came back and said, oh man, I forgot Butter. He's my second favorite guy on the show. Short lives matter.
Did the guy mention me at all? Was I mentioned in any of this super chat? He's got nothing to say about me.
I think your name's on the bill. I think we're assuming you as the number one.
He had no comment on me, so I got no response to what he just said. Next. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, and then he also wanted me to let Butter know that he's been cooking. Your nickname for him is El Cocinario de Butter. Means Butter the cook. So, Butter, you have fans in the chat. They love you.
People are liking Butter. We got to do that. Butter's role is not to be liked on this show. People are supposed to hate Butter and beg for Butter to be thrown in the Butter box.
Hey, Shemeka,
you're doing your.
Tell all my people out there I'm on it like Blue Bonnet. All right.
I will.
Butter sounds very. What a simp. Anyway, next.
3 more, Jason. Dre Day Solo says, when is Jason going to get Alex Jones on? We need that. I know he said he's contacted him, but he's got the connections through Glenn Beck and Charlie Kirk. It's been a long time coming.
You know what? I'd love to have Alex Jones on. I'd love to have him over to my house for like a 3-hour conversation. That would be great. We'll see if I can make that happen. That's a good suggestion. Next.
Hillard says to ask you, what was you and your dad's favorite black sitcom of all time and why?
Wow. My favorite black sitcom, it has to be either Good Times or Sanford and Son. It's
Sanford and Son is good.
Yeah, I've watched Good Times more. I actually own the entire series of Good Times, and so it's probably, I would say, Good Times. I liked the Cosby Show, but it really wasn't my jam. I'm not sure if my father, I don't know if my father, only show I think and ever remember my father watching was 60 Minutes. I can't think of him watching any TV show other than 60 Minutes and some sports. I'm sitting
Didn't
here
see that coming.
I'm trying. 60 Minutes used to be good a long time ago. But other than that, I don't think I can think of it. And look, when you own a bar like my dad did, Monday through Saturday, you're pretty busy. And, you know, on Sundays, you watch a little football, then you watch 60 Minutes after the game. You know, this is back in the day. So anyway, but no, my dad, not a TV watcher. My mother would probably, she'd be right there with Good Times and probably just Good Times. That's all I can remember. I don't think she was much of a Happy Days person. I liked Happy Days too. There used to be a big, we'd argue at school, the black kids and the white kids, what was better, Good Times or Happy Days? Anyway, next.
Like them both.
Last one, because this one caused a bit of back and forth in the chat, Jason. Houston Duck said, this is called pushback. Remember the Fab Five? Chris Webber was strapped financially, and he would see people wearing his Michigan jersey, which was sold for money. Power to the workers.
Hold on, read that again. This is called pushback.
Pushback.
Remember the Fab Five? Yeah, I don't know if this guy's ever watched this show, but I called BS on all of that. I covered the Fab Five, lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan, covered that team. Chris Webber was living really, really well. The entire, maybe not Ray Jackson, but everybody else on that Fab Five team drove a really nice SUV. Chris Webber lived in a very nice, well-furnished apartment. He was, you know, let's say in whatever year that was, 92, 93, I'm making around 40, 45,000 bucks a year, working for the Ann Arbor News, and Chris Webber was living much higher on the hog than I was. Went to his apartment, played video games with him. Plush, I wish I was living in Chris Webber's apartment. So he didn't miss any meals. That's all myth. He got paid. He was, all those guys got paid in some sort of way. They could eat anywhere they wanted in Ann Arbor for free. They were the toast of that town.
Probably some good chocolate ocean around those parts of the country.
Yeah, they did well in all their endeavors. Thank you, Shemeka. Thank you, chat. I don't want the audience to go anywhere, particularly if you want to hear a conversation about Christian nationalism that you won't hear anywhere else. Myself, Doug Wilson, prominent minister, evangelical in Moscow, Idaho. You guys know Doug Wilson. He's always in hot water. He's nearly in as much hot water as me. That conversation with Doug Wilson, next. The shots being fired my direction.
I should know he ain't really worth this shit.
You're nothing but a puppet and a brown noser.
Society is filled with people on the sidelines taking shots at successful people.
I've had enough of that fat bastard.
So, that's what I do. You coward.
I'll listen to you. If you have any ideas, I'll take them.
I love Jason Whitlock. I respect the hell out of him.
That I'm calling the Gatesville 8. I just don't want this thing between you and Eminem to turn into a Tupac and Biggie.
I'm full-blown MAGA tonight.
I sort of did a joke meme about it, like, hey, you know who else was persecuted right before Easter?
I've never voted, JD, is because I'm just incredibly cynical. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to this extra fearless content. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be very educational for me and certainly for you as the viewers. We're going to interview and engage with Doug Wilson, Senior Minister of Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. Doug doesn't need much of an introduction, but I'll give one in my own little special way. I judge a man, a church, by his fruit. And man, Doug Wilson, the fruit that I've met from your church Dave Shannon, Toby Sumter, Gabriel Wrench. Holy cow, you're doing something very special in Moscow, Idaho. These are three of the strongest believers in men, family men, good men, people that I can trust and call for advice. Chuck Knox and I consider one of my best friends, and Gabriel Wrench has been on this show several times, and every time he's on, he says things so powerful and profound, and I'm like, I gotta get Gabriel. Man, he's gotta come on more often. But Doug, all I know really about you is your fruit, and it's some really good fruit.
Well, thank the Lord. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate having you on. The other part of Doug founded the Logo School in 1981. He's founded a college also where he serves as a faculty member. And the conversation I want to have with Doug initially is Doug has gone right to the heart of the problem. And instead of fighting the symptoms, it feels to me like, Pastor Wilson, you've said, nah, let's go right to the disease. Our kids are being educated improperly, and they're being educated in a way that pulls them away from Jesus Christ. And if we ever really want to really engage in this cultural battle, we have to engage in the battle about who's going to educate our kids. Am I accurate with that assessment?
Yes, that's right on the money. Basically, the educational system in our country would be the lymph nodes, and progressivism has been a cancer that has gone into the lymph nodes. They've gone after that, and we've got a diseased culture because we tolerated that disease in our educational processes from kindergarten on up. Our higher education institutions are riddled with it, and the same thing is true in the lower grades. We have to reform education.
So you've written a book, Keep Your Kids, and it's instructional about how to actually save your kids. What are you trying to accomplish in the book? What's in the book? What's the message?
Sure. A little bit of history. A number of years ago, my wife and I wrote a series of books, family books, marriage books, one on courtship, on child rearing books, and we've done that, right? But I realized recently, I was listening to a fine book by Abigail Schreier called Bad Therapy. It was just a very good book, and I realized that a lot of the parental instruction that I'd given was given when the world was right side up. And like I wrote them 20 years ago, published them a while ago, when right and left were not confused and up and down were not confused. And we live in an era of therapeutic sentimentalist goo. And parents who are bringing up kids in this world have a lot of additional challenges that parents in previous eras didn't have. Now, child rearing has always been a challenge. It's not like it's ever easy, but bringing up kids in clown world has been just remarkably tough. And so I preached a series of sermons for our people on raising kids in an age of therapeutic goo, and then worked the material into this book.
Wow. Additional challenges that parents face in this new world, my mind immediately goes to a point that I've been making, I think, for the last 10 years. One of the biggest challenges is just technology. Doug, I'm 57 years old. Looks like you're probably 47. Maybe, but a little older than me. But Doug, we grew up in a time where a parent's voice in a home was the most powerful sound you would hear in a home because there weren't all these other distractions. I grew up in a home where we had one telephone line, one telephone. If someone wanted to talk to you, your mother or father couldn't be on the phone. If you wanted to hear music, you had to play a record player that everybody in the house could hear. If you wanted to watch TV, there was basically one TV in your house, and the whole family would be watching whatever you're watching on TV.
Right.
Now kids can put on earbuds and lose themselves in a world all to themselves, where I love to say, like, hey, Michael Jackson would come on national TV once or twice a year. And like now, Snoop Dogg has direct access to your child 24 hours a day.
Right.
How do the world has more access to our kids than I think. It's overloaded the system. It's made parents' jobs just incredibly difficult.
Right, and there's a second layer to it. The first layer is what you're pointing out, the fragmentation of sources of information. So the kids all have phones, and those phones are portals that have access to every porn library in the world, right? And you've got all of this. All of these different sources of information. And back in the old days, it was more unified. The thing that is the additional complication is that back in the day, the other sources of information that came into the home were largely saying the same sorts of things that the parents were saying. There wasn't the radical undermining, right? So society spoke with a more unified voice. Now, not only is your kid off streaming his own show on his own laptop or his own phone, but the content that he's accessing is leprous, it's corrupt, it's diseased. So you've got a situation where the outside world is flooding in through many different avenues, and they're telling lies. That's the challenge. And so parents have to be on top of it. If mom or dad goes through their kids' Spotify playlists, one of the things they should do is say, how many of these songs have the tag explicit right next to them, right? And how many parents are clueless about what that means, or they don't know how to review a playlist. And the kids think, oh, you're invading my privacy. It's really a challenge. The central difference between a more biblical and Christian approach to child rearing and what is commonly accepted today is this. I point to this with that word therapeutic. Therapeutic sentimentalism is the phrase, and that is the old task, and I think the current proper task is for parents to equip their children to navigate the world as it is. In other words, reality is not optional. Reality is the way it is. And your task as a parent is to equip your child with a biblical frame and a biblical worldview to know how to navigate it and make good choices and so forth. Modern child rearing is trying to modify the world to fit the child. Instead of training the child to fit the world, they're trying to modify the world to fit the child, and that involves, honestly, quite a bit of lying. if you're gonna say that the world is going to cater to whatever you feel at the moment, whatever you feel is supreme, whatever you feel makes you the queen or makes you the king, and the world is going to bow down and cater to everything. That's what's behind absurdities like you feel like a girl, a little boy feels like a girl. Well, then you are a girl, all right? If a little girl feels like a boy, well, you are a boy. And what that is trying to whip the world into shape to conform to the feelings of a 12-year-old, right? And what parents need to know how to do is, Mom, I feel this way. Well, parents are there to help a child learn how to tell their feelings to shut up. Your feelings are not in charge.
Well, the first step in that is that the parent has to accept that their feelings are irrelevant. Because this is the conversation I keep having with adults about their own mentality. We don't realize that all the messaging is saying exactly what you're saying. Whatever you feel. And the Bible, I was like, hold on now, we're Christians.
Yeah.
The only thing we worry about is what God commands. And so our feelings are irrelevant. This world isn't about satisfying our feelings. And you know, our opinions are mostly or almost thoroughly irrelevant. We have a Bible that tells us what to do, how to think, how to act. And it's very hard for an adult to get in this mindset and operate in a world, because again, it's taken me a lot of effort to where I can now watch things that aren't meant for me and have bad messaging. And my eyes have been opened enough that I'm repulsed by them and can see like, well, they're lying to me. They're presenting gay couples as if this is normal. And so I don't watch the show. How do you get a kid to process those things the same way that a 57-year-old man is able to process them? But I wasn't able to really process it 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I had to get a lot of age on me before I figured it out. How do you get a child in that mindset?
Well, one of the things to realize is that when the child is born into this world and is growing up in your home, they are going to be trained and equipped by what is around them, what you allow into their life as a parent, right? So, and this is the task of a parent, to be a gatekeeper, to be a guardian. So somebody, and this means things like Christian education, private schools. We started a private school so that our kids could go through a Christian school that reinforced what we were teaching at home. And of course, the charge when we were doing this, the objection or the charge against parents who do this is that you're just trying to shelter your kids. And my response to that is, well, what next? Parents sheltering kids? Yeah, we feed them too.
I put clothes on my kid's back. Put him in jail.
I have a roof over their head. We have blankets on their bed. We give them food, and we protect them from predators. We protect them from those who would groom them. We protect them from liars, right? So if someone pulls up in your neighborhood in a van offering free candy, we shelter our kids from that, okay? Now, the problem is that we now have a government school system down the street that is just a stationary van that is grooming the kids to accept all sorts of nonsense. And parents have to revolt. Parents have to say, not with my kid, you don't. No.
So, Doug, when I think about the work you've been doing in Moscow, Idaho, and the community you guys have built, it's all built around family and making sure we're supporting the nuclear family, man following God, woman following a man that's following God, and man and woman developing and nurturing those children. What do you say to, and again, maybe it's not even your concern, I may be asking a kind of a silly question, but the people that are raising, the single parents that are raising their kids that perhaps don't have enough resources or bandwidth to supervise their kids and potentially homeschool their kids if necessary, how can they implement a lot of these solutions you're talking about?
So that's a fantastic question. It's not just a family-centric culture that we have here, although that is a strong element in it. We also believe and hold that worship is the center of everything. And so we have, I'm the pastor of a church, and all of these families come together to worship God on the Lord's Day. And the kids stay through the entire service. We don't have a separate segregated children's church. The kids worship together with their parents. All of us come together. Now, you asked about single moms, single parents, we have people in that situation. And this is one of the benefits of having a genuine community of believers who are united in their worship of God. So, for example, we have, in our church community, we have hundreds of school-age children, hundreds of them. And 95% of them are receiving a private Christian education. And we have a Deacons Fund that helps people who are less fortunate. A subset of the Deacons Fund is the Christian Education Fund. So if parents are not in a position to buy homeschooling materials, or if they need tuition assistance with the Christian school, it is our commitment that we don't want any one of our children in our congregation to miss a Christian education because of money. And so a single mom in our community has backup. So it's not just us telling her, hey, you've got to go do this tough thing, and you're working 3 jobs as it is, and how are you going to homeschool on top of that? No, that would be calloused and hard-hearted and hypocritical. So now I don't want to get into the doctrinal thing here, but we're a Paedo-Baptist church, meaning that we baptize children, we baptize infants. And when we baptize an infant, one of the things we do, we had the parents take vows to bring this child up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And then we turn to the whole congregation and we say, do you promise to aid and help these Christian parents in the Christian nurture of this child? Signify that by saying amen. That means the whole congregation is bound by an oath to back this family up, and as needed. So everyone carries their own burden, but when necessary, others rally around and help out. So this is, I would call this one of Edmund Burke's little platoons. It is not possible for atomistic individuals to resist the encroachments of the state. The only kind of culture that can resist the encroachments of the state would be a molecular culture, and the molecules have to be complex. Towns, villages, churches, denominations, extended families, and so on.
Doug, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've been under attack for doing this for a long time. Do you feel the pendulum? Do you feel the pendulum starting to change? Is there starting to be a little wind at your back? Because it seems to me like the scales are coming off people's eyes. Things have gotten so predatory towards children that more people are like, oh, now I get what Doug Wilson is talking about. Do you feel that?
Yes, that's very much been our experience. We have been attacked and slandered and reviled for many, many years. And I just bring up that Jesus teaches us that when you're slandered and reviled and they heave every manner of dead cat at you, Jesus says to go around the corner and do a little dance. He says, in that day, rejoice and be exceedingly glad. So that's been the case for many years. But one of the things that's changed I would say over the last 4 or 5 years, is things have gotten so bad that a lot of normies, a lot of regular Christians who before would have perhaps believed some of the outlandish lies that are told about us, have said, man, whatever they're doing, it can't be worse than what's going on around me now. And then they give us a second or a third look, and all of a sudden they say, oh, this makes sense. The Word of God is central. Love God and hate sin. And when you love God and hate sin, that entails certain things that you will do to protect your children.
I maybe 12, 15 years ago started telling all of my friends, and they all thought I was crazy. I was like, hey guys, they're going to legalize pedophilia. That's the path we're on. They're going to legalize pedophilia. And I started calling the LGBTQIA+, and I'd say silent P, because that's what this is all about. It's the silent pedophilia. And people thought I was crazy, and this is where I kind of, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I'm no expert and you're on to be the expert, but I've kind of celebrated the openness of the wickedness, because it's forced people. When I see women out in the street having convulsions because they can't kill babies, I'm like, that's a good thing. People need to know that that's what they're signing up for, that's what they're supporting. And when I see them start calling minor attracted people, It's the openness of the wickedness is an opportunity for people like yourself to be heard.
That's right. That pedophilia component has been hiding under that plus. It first began, it was LGB, right? But the alphabet people, it's grown and grown and grown. And then they added that plus sign. And the question is, okay, what's under the plus sign? Are minor attracted persons part of this? And again, not with my kid, you don't. No, stay clean away. And I think you're exactly right. What we're seeing in the streets of our cities is a toxic mix of demonism and mental illness. And a lot of normal people looked at that and said, jeepers. The people who were warning us about this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we should go back and, apologize to them. We called them conspiracy nuts. We called them extremists. We called them domestic terrorists. We've called them every name in the book. So how come all of their predictions are coming true? And now that they're coming true, the establishment is trying to brazen it out. It's not happening. You're crazy. It's not happening. You're crazy. And then they move silently to, well, okay, it's happening, but it's a good thing. Right? Now, come on. It's always bad.
Doug, I really need help. I'm asking sincerely. I'm seeking out your advice or your counsel. The abortion thing and how it became the primary issue for the Democrat Party and the left. Right. It really brought into focus for me, like, whoa, if they got an abortion truck outside their national convention and they're offering up abortions at their convention, I was like, this is a satanic movement. And it's made me, it's caused a lot of conflict and tension in relationships with people who somehow were able to overlook their abortion stance and say, well, I don't like Trump and I don't like his personality. And it's like, I get it, he's got a bad personality, I get it, but these people want to kill babies. So I don't want to talk about his personality. I want to talk about these people, they want to kill babies. There are people that I love that can't make that connection, that there's something going on with their walk where they're not getting the part that we have to hate evil and killing babies is evil. How do I help them understand, or what counsel can be so that I can get peace with this? Because it's put me at odds with people that I love.
Part of the problem is that in the church, we have bought into a false doctrine about love and hate, right? There's in the book of Proverbs, it says, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. And I don't ever get tired of telling people that there is no virtue or vice in a transitive verb. Okay? There is no virtue or vice in a transitive verb. If I say, I love, and then I have fill in the blank, I don't know yet whether that's a virtuous person speaking or a vicious person, evil person speaking. I love fill in the blank. I love baseball. I love kids. I love child porn. I love the devil. I love scorpion tattoos. Well, you don't know what's going on in that sentence until you get to the direct object, right? And the same thing with hate. Hate is not a bad thing. I hate child molestation. I hate the fact that we live in a society where genital mutilation is celebrated. I hate the fact that the Democrats are, set up that abortion van outside the DNC. Back in Bill Clinton's day, he said he wanted abortion to be safe, legal, and rare. Okay, that was the line back then. It was deceitful. It was a lie, but it was at least palatable to the general public, safe, legal, and rare. Now they want it abundant, plentiful. It's their blood sacrament. It's the center of their religion of child sacrifice. And I think all good Christians must hate it. All right, our problem is in the book of Revelation, for example, the Lord rebukes the church at Ephesus because he says they've fallen from their first love. So it's a bad thing to fall from your first love of Christ. But he says, I do have one thing in your favor. He says, you hate the deeds of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate, right? In other words, the church at Ephesus was deficient because their love was deficient, but their hatred was good. Their hatred was sound. And modern evangelical Christians have to recover the understanding that hatred of the right things is a good thing. It doesn't paint you as an extremist. I hate it when a man beats up his wife. I hate that, right? I hate it that someone can't walk across their own hometown safely. I hate that. I hate the fact that the border's out of control. I hate that. I hate the fact that I hate sex trafficking. All of the things. It's not wrong for a Christian to hate. It's wrong for them to love the world. The Bible says, love not the world or the things in the world. We don't want corrupted loves, and we don't want corrupted hatreds. We want righteous loves and righteous hatreds.
You brought me back to something I wanted to reference earlier, but I just want to get it in. It's another way of saying something that I think you've already said it, but I want you to expound on it. You talk about people loving the world and people not being aware of actions that demonstrate that they love the world. And so when a parent or an adult says, well, you're homeschooling your kids, you got them isolated out here in this Christian school, they're not going to know how to interact in the world. They're not going to be prepared for the world. I want my kids prepared for the world. They gotta know, prepare them for the kingdom of God, prepare them for salvation, prepare them to one day have God say, man, I'm well pleased with you. Don't prepare them for this wicked world, prepare them to meet their maker. No?
Yeah, absolutely right. And if they tell me if you keep your kids out of the government school system, then they're not going to know how to navigate the real world. And I say, oh, they're not going to know how to use the kitty litter box, right? They're not going to know how to act like they're a little girl. They're not going to know how to put a condom on a banana. They're not going to. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You guys are actively pursuing the corruption of children. And I am fully prepared to cheerfully admit that I'm not going along with it. I'm not participating. And on top of everything else, I'm not going to feel bad about not participating. Your cool shame doesn't work anymore. It was possible 30 years ago for the world to cool shame Christians. You guys are not sophisticated. You guys are just rubes and corn pones. You guys are just, you're not sophisticated urbanites like we are. But now the sophisticated urbanites are walking around dressed like a raccoon, well, because they're a furry, and you want me to send my kid to the school where that kind of thing is normal? That kind of thing, that's what you call socialization? You want my kid to learn how to navigate drug deals? Is that what it is? Right? So I think we are now in a position where we can punch back. We're now in a position where we can just turn the tables. And it's exactly what you said before. The wickedness has gotten so outrageous and so out there that we can just look at them with our very best fat face and say, what are you talking about?
Doug, I want to talk about another issue that's popular in our different echo chambers or in the public discourse, the words and the title, Christian nationalism. And again, I'm a student here. I want to learn from you, want to hear your thoughts on it. I'm someone just instinctively, what's wrong with Christian nationalism? That's where my instincts go. Sounds good to me. I need as much Christianity as possible. I don't have a problem with it. People are telling me that I should have a problem with it. Where are you at on this?
Yeah, I'm happy to accept the term Christian nationalist because I simply mean nothing more or less than being a thoughtful Christian patriot. I love Christ and I love my country, and I want my country to stop making God angry, right? And the way we're conducting our public affairs, by pretending that he doesn't exist, by pretending his will has nothing to do with us, we are making him angry. The abortion carnage has made him angry. The transing of kids is making him angry. I think our nation ought to stop making him angry. That's my understanding of Christian nationalism. We are a nation now, and nations are moral agents. Nations are moral agents. They can sin. A genocidal campaign would be a sin that a nation commits. Breaking a treaty would be a sin that a nation commits. So states or corporate entities like nations are moral agents. And if we're going to be a moral agent, then we have to know what morality we're obeying. My favorite question in this is, by what standard? If we are to conform our behavior to a certain rule, what is that rule? What is the standard? Now, as a Christian, I want it to be the true standard. I want it to be the correct standard. I want it to be the standard that Moses brought down off the mountain of Sinai. That's the standard I want. And now, what happens is that people try to scare folks by saying what you have in mind is mirrored sunglasses on dictators and missile parades and goose-stepping armies and raids in the middle of the night. That's not what we're talking about with Christian nationalism. That's not it at all. What we're talking about is simply, as a people, conforming our culture, conforming our way of doing business to the standards that God has embedded in the world. And if there is no God above the state, then the state has become God. That's the problem. So if there is no God over the state, then the state is God. And I don't want the state to be God, because the state is diseased and corrupt and self-interested, and they change all the time. I don't want to serve that God. I want to serve the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian. Now, at that point, the objection comes back. Yes, but I'm not a Christian, and I'm an American citizen, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to impose your morality on me. You're trying to say I can't get an abortion because your book, the Bible, the book that I don't believe in, prohibits it. So you're trying to impose your morality on me. And I'd say, yeah, that's right. I am trying to impose biblical Christian morality on you. I don't want you to be allowed to kill your baby. That's Christian morality. I'm advocating imposing that on you and on the doctor who would do it. Yes. But this is what is called an inescapable concept. All laws are an imposition of morality, and it's not whether but which. It's not whether you're imposing morality, it's which morality you impose. And I would say you're doing exactly the same thing, because you and the doctor want to impose your morality on the baby. Okay? I want to impose Christian morality on you and on the doctor, and you and the doctor want to impose your morality on the baby. And my morality imposed saves a life, and your morality imposed takes one.
It's very simple. I try to, people are starting to figure out, take someone, a devout atheist like a Bill Maher, the comedian, HBO guy. He's made movies making fun of the Christian faith and just making fun of religious faith. But even someone like Bill Maher has started to figure out that a Christian culture, a Christian morality, allows him far more freedom than a secular morality. Well, comedians can't crack jokes because secularism has gone so far and started infringing on their free speech, and Bill Maher even figured like, holy cow, they're saying I can't crack these jokes. Where in a Christian culture, because we're so confident in our maker, Bill, you want to make a fool of yourself and crack them jokes and blah, blah, blah. Go ahead, buddy. We believe in free speech. And that's where I think the awakening and the scales coming off people's eyes. I had the conversation with Adam Carolla, another comedian who isn't hostile to Christianity, but he's not a man of faith. He told me in an interview, he's like, oh God, I'd much rather live next door to a Christian than a devout atheist. And so people are starting to figure out that God's way actually serves the non-believers just as much as it serves us.
Yeah, I trust Christians to protect the liberties of secularists far more than I trust the secularists to protect the liberties of anybody. The secularists are not interested in liberty. And religious liberty and religious toleration were Christian inventions. Don't come to us and say, we're going to take those things away. We're the ones who invented them. It was Christian cultures that hammered out the most open and free societies in the history of the planet. And so consequently, and the secularists have turned it into a sort of pandemonium and free-for-all, anarchy on the one hand, and draconian hate speech regulations and politically correct strictures on the other. It's just not tenable.
It feels like, and I sent you the article that James Lindsay wrote. He's an atheist, public intellectual. They're always trying to figure out new ways to demonize evangelicals, demonize those of us with a biblical worldview, and Christian nationalism is the way. And now it seems like they've moved on to, okay, Whitlock and Doug Wilson and a few of these other guys are like, no, we're good with Christian nationalism. And so now they've come up, we're the woke right. And I don't know if they're including me in that, but I sent you what was your reaction to this whole thing of like, there's this woke right, and I just saw it as just a new attack on being a Christian. And so now they're trying to analogize us to the woke left. It fell flat with me. What did you think of that article?
Yeah, I certainly reject that term as having anything to do with what I'm supporting or arguing for. Now, keep in mind that we just had a presidential election, and over tens of millions of people voted in that. And so the right wing in the United States, the right wing encompasses millions of people. Are you going to find a few outliers, some people who have set their hair on fire on the right wing? Yeah, there are. Is there such a thing as a right-wing extremist? Yes, they do exist. Is there such a thing as a right-wing activist who thinks in the same terms that critical theory does of oppressor and oppressed? Yeah, there are people who do that too. But there are consistent Christian conservatives who have been arguing for decades that we need to base what we do on the Bible, and we've been called extremists, but we're not. I can be called an extremist, for example, for having the same position on marriage that Obama had when he was running for president, and the same position that Hillary had when she was running for president. And I'm a nutcase because I didn't move. So the Overton window has been moving steadily left. And so consequently, if you want to ask me, are there nut jobs on the right? Yeah, there are nut jobs on the right. But are you wanting to say that the energy of the protest that we're currently mounting is coming from a woke right? No, it isn't.
Pastor Wilson, I so appreciate you cutting out the time for us. I wanted to introduce my audience to you because you're going to come to Nashville and be a part of our roll call event. We're looking forward to it. I hope that I'm criticized for inviting you. I always like being criticized for engaging with people that stand on biblical values and do it fearlessly and ferociously. Man, you've been through some wars, and it's wonderful to see you being vindicated. I think, and anybody objectively has to look and say, "Holy cow, this guy was just ahead of the curve." And what you're doing with the logo school, what you're doing with your college, this is where we have to be, because these schools and the public education system, they're just stripping God. Parents, grandparents, they put some God in their kids, and then we send them off to school to have it all stripped out of them, and we think they're smarter during that process, and they're not. And so hats off to you and the people in Moscow, Idaho, and can't wait to shake your hand and meet you here in Nashville. And I'll have, I don't know if you drink, but I'll have a beer with Dave Shannon or some scotch with Dave Shannon and Toby and those guys. But look forward to meeting you and just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I drink, I'm a Presbyterian.
Yeah. I figured you did, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to stereotype you. I didn't want to profile you. But anyway,
I should put that in my pronouns.
Thank you so much for your time. Can't wait to meet you. And again, I just got to say again, I don't mean this in any way pandering or, man, Chalk Knox, Toby, Gabe, that's some good fruit, brother. Keep doing your thing.
Thank the Lord, and thank you.
Yep. That's Doug Wilson. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, no deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I wanna